Oh boy.
So the scene ends with a nice 1-2 punch. First, we get one of the funniest lines in the movie.
Help me to kill Spider-Man!
And then Peter Parker kidnaps Mary Jane, and the crowd cheers him on for doing this. You don't think she needs to, go to the hospital? Because she was trapped under fucking rubble. And people have also pointed this out before, but that's obviously a mannequin in a Spider-Man costume, and her hair is blowing in the wrong way. Anyway, let's look at more goofy scenes out of context.
I'm right here.
This movie is so fucking funny. It's pretty clear that this movie is the goofiest thing to be put on film in the year 2002.
It's not even funny, you dumbass. You're not even analyzing the movie. You keep making every scene like it's a joke. What the fuck are you on? No, genius, the scenes aren't just comedic. They have symbolic meaning, you see. When William Dafoe's character Goblin, aka Norman Osborn, when he looks at the mask, it's symbolism for his alter ego. Then his alter ego calls out to him. He looks back. This is what the scene actually meant versus your pointless nitpicks.
I mean, the climax has the villain literally holding the love interest in one hand and a metal box of children in the other, and Spider-Man has to pick which one he's gonna save. If something this stereotypical happened in a superhero movie today, there would be public outcry about how silly it is.
He says that if it was made today, people would claim an outcry about how silly it is. The climax, you fool, you do realize the climax also had that final fight between Peter and the Goblin. It was so well choreographed with so much intensity and weight behind every punch and every cinematic angle. Then you have this scene where he ramps up the tension more, holding those people hostage and Mary Jane at the same time. To have such good storytelling in the modern day with all these MCU identical films out and about would be a huge breath of fresh air.
But to top it off, you get the funniest line in the whole movie. And I mean it. Out of everything I've shown you guys, this line is my favorite. I have memorized this speech. It is truly iconic to me as one of the greatest and cheesiest superhero movie monologues.
Spider-Man! This is why only fools are heroes. Because you never know when some lunatic will come along with the sadistic choice. Let die the woman you love, or suffer the little children.
Truly a masterpiece. As a regular superhero movie, I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10. But as a comedy, 10s across the board, baby.
What the fuck is wrong with you? You skipped Goblin and Peter's fight. Then you gave one of the greatest superhero movies of all time a 6 out of 10? Dude, what the fuck? Awful score. That's not accurate to this movie. This movie is a 9.3. For a first attempt of something of this magnitude, you succeeded in so many areas, in so many of the right areas, and that's really something. Get the fuck out of here with that 6 out of 10. Fuck that. This movie is a 9.3. 10 out of 10 as a comedy. Kiss my ass. Spider-Man 2 is the best movie out of the trilogy because it has relatable, down-to-earth, realistic characters. It had a powerful and profound story with some amazing characterization, development, and story arcs. It was absolutely outstanding, especially for its time. That's why it's so widely regarded as one of the single greatest achievements in superhero film history.
Comedic gold.
Don't tell Harry.
So now we've arrived at the Citizen Kane of Spider-Man movies, or so people say. Spider-Man 2.1. That's the one I have, I'm sorry. Now while the point of this video is to bring up the crummy aspects of this movie and kind of laugh at it, I gotta admit that it's 100% undeniable that this is the best movie out of the trilogy. It's way funnier than the first one, it has some good emotional moments, and it's pretty exciting to watch. But it still has dumb shit. So, let's start off with another Peter Parker narration.
Who am I? I'm Spider-Man, given a job to do.
Bleh!
Here we go. Shut up. He's a nerd. He's supposed to be a nerd. So he might sound nerdy, act nerdy, talk nerdy, be nerdy. Because, oh yeah, go figure, genius, Peter Parker is a nerd in the comics, so he'd be a nerd in the damn film.
Now, I would run through this movie scene by scene like I did for the last movie, but this movie's kind of hard to do that for, and I'd also be here for a really long time. I'm trying to go to bed. This movie follows a little bit of a formula, but not the same one as the last movie. In this movie, everything revolves around Peter Parker being shit on. And I know shitting on him is kind of half of the whole thing about being Spider-Man, but that's exactly my point. It should be half of the story. Rewatching this movie is really frustrating because everybody is an asshole.
There's so much more to the film than how simplistic you put it as, oh, they just shit on him in the movie. That makes their movie great. No, genius. The movie had a sense of depth. It had substance. It had pizzazz. It had depth. It had oomph. It was well written. It was realistic. It was down to earth and relatable.
Mary Jane is an asshole. Aunt May is rude as fuck. Harry is the biggest piece of shit ever. This movie is just unrelentingly mean. The first thing Harry says to Peter in this movie is, hey, your friend Spider-Man killed my dad, and I fucking hate you. And then they start talking about other stuff. And then he's like, no, but seriously, I really hate Spider-Man, and I hate you, and this is why Uncle Ben died. Every chance Harry gets, he talks about how Spider-Man killed his dad. Even when Spider-Man saves his life in the beginning of the movie, he doesn't even skip a beat. He's just like,
This doesn't change anything.
The reason why Harry Osborn hates Spider-Man so much is because at the end of the first film, a scene your dumbass skipped at the end of the film, guess what? Harry Osborn died. And when he died, Harry thought that Spider-Man killed him. This was established at the end of the first film scenes you skipped.
God damn, dude, you are really petty.
Petty my ass. He thinks Spider-Man killed his dad. He's upset because his father died. His father literally died. You're not exactly going to be happy, specifically if you think someone killed them.
It also doesn't help that James Franco's acting is kind of shitty in this movie.
I'm ruined. I have nothing left except Spider-Man.
This is some of the most realistic and relatable acting ever put to a Marvel film. Again, I ask, what are you talking about?
And then we have Aunt May, who nags the shit out of Peter Parker in every scene that he's in. She abuses random people. Ow! And in the most egregious instance of mischaracterization, she makes Peter feel more guilty for Uncle Ben's death. At a crucial point in the movie, Peter is like, hey, Aunt May, it's been eating me up inside. I basically caused Uncle Ben's death. I didn't know how to tell you, and I'm so sorry. All I want is forgiveness. And she's basically like, wow, you're a piece of shit. Bye. And then she just leaves. She leaves him there.
Oh, don't even mischaracterization. My butt, she was loyal to her character and loyal to her comic book counterpart and even animated cartoon counterpart. She is every bit as Aunt May as any interpretation has ever been. And she is one of the best interpretations of the character since the comics and since the cartoons and even in comparison to other films. This is the best interpretation ever put to film. No, she doesn't just say, oh, you fucked up, but whatever. No, dude. You didn't even pay attention to the scene. She doesn't just say that. She gives him some powerful advice because he stopped being Spider-Man. He lost his powers. She gave him just the right oomph to get him back on his feet without realizing it. It's never specified whether she knows he's Spider-Man, but the wisdom she gives is kind of like she knows deep down, and it was just the right thing to help him when he lost his powers and stopped being Spider-Man. This set him down the path of being Spider-Man again.
Even when Peter comes back and he tries to talk about it again, to get some closure, she's basically like, well, you fucked up, but whatever. This is not Aunt May.
And it makes me really mad.
Shut up.
But even though Aunt May has the worst scene, and she's one of the worst characters in the movie,
she still isn't the number one worst character. No, that award goes to Mary Jane Watson, the most petty and manipulative person in the entire series. She spends the whole movie fucking with Peter's emotions. At the end of the first movie, he's like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, we can't be together. I gotta do my own thing. It's sad, but hey, he's being straight with her. And in their first scene in this movie, she tries to make the moves on him, and he's like, hey, whoa, hold up. Yeah, no, I'm still trying to be friends here. I don't want to date you. And she's like, oh yeah? Well, fucking kiss me, you pussy. Look how cute I am. I baked you a fucking cake. And he's like, oh, okay. Oh boy, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
And she's like, admit you love me. Admit you love me, Peter. And he's like, no, I don't want to. So she takes it easy. She backs off a little bit. She doesn't freak out or anything, except she does this shit. And then a second later, she turns around and she's like, oh, well, you know what? I have a boyfriend anyway, so fuck you. And she seriously says it just to fuck with him.
The scene you're describing with Mary Jane, dude, he doesn't want her put in danger because he's Spider-Man, so he can admit his feelings towards her.
But then you learn that she's only fucking this other guy because she's mad at Peter Parker. She agrees to marry him right after she yells at Peter Parker. It's just because she's mad at him.
punch me, I'd bleed.
So then in the weirdest scene of the movie, she has this fucking experiment with her fiance where she makes him kiss her like Spider-Man kissed her in the first movie. What if your girlfriend went up to you and was like, hey, can you kiss me like this one guy used to kiss me? This one guy that I just kissed in an alleyway one time? I just want to, see what it feels like. What the fuck? No!
Shut up. No, you don't get it. The fact that she wanted a man to kiss her the way Spider-Man kissed her means that she loves him. And she wants someone to kiss her the way he did.
But that's not the only frustrating plot device. Dr. Octopus is also a big dumbass. Firstly, he has this extremely dangerous demonstration in his fucking apartment with no protective gear given to anybody in the room other than goggles for himself.
The people in the room were far away from the contraption, so they didn't need gear. Also, he didn't think that they'd have an accident. That's also one of the main themes the movie is tackling. The fact that Doc Ock didn't think an accident would happen is a part of the themes tackled in Spider-Man 2 about how he got so deep into his work that he didn't think an accident like that could happen. That's why people weren't wearing protective gear. It's one of the themes that the film tackles. Yes, he needs the goggles because he's getting closer to the device than anyone else.
And then when he turns evil, his entire supervillain plot is, well, I gotta finish my science experiment. Might as well. I get that you're supposed to be crazy now because of the AI of the metal arms, fucking with his mind. But why the fuck do they want to finish the fusion reactor? What do they care about sustainable energy for? I don't get it.
The metallic arms are tied to his cerebral cortex, so they're gonna think like him and act like him and his instincts. That's why.
He's one of the best characters in the Spider-Man universe with really complex goals and motivations. But here he's just a fucking goofball.
Butterfingers.
He's one of the best characters in the Spideyverse with complex goals and motivations. Yes, he's already like this in the film. He has complex goals and motivations. He is a fleshed out, complex character. That's why he's such a highly regarded character in the superhero talk space. He's rather regarded as one of the best characters in superhero film history.
I will say, though, that one of the best scenes in the movie is definitely the fucking horror scene that plays at the end of the first act. This is so reminiscent of Evil Dead that it makes me kind of giddy. Like, look at this. Tell me this is not from Evil Dead. For real. And to top it off, this scene is full of the other staple of this trilogy, screaming women. I mentioned it briefly before, but Sam Raimi loves screaming women. Even when the movie isn't being campy and it's not being serious, it's just being really awkward. Tobey Maguire can't have a normal scene with somebody.
We sure showed him.
What do you mean, we?
Oh, what do you mean, we? Aunt May was basically saying she handled him on her own and didn't receive any help from anybody. How did you not get that joke?
So anyway, Peter Parker beats up Dr. Octopus, he tells Mary Jane he's Spider-Man, and then she leaves her fiancé on their wedding day and decides to be with Peter Parker.
He talks about the final scene like it's butter on toast, something you've seen before, nothing to see here. Every time you come near, you just add your 2 cents, and it was duly noted, but not necessary. You missed the entire point of that scene. First off, Peter Parker tells Doc Ock some important lessons about life and about what they went through, and it showed how far the characters have come over time. They had a sit down and finally spoke and told Peter to leave so he could sacrifice himself to destroy the machine. It was powerful, sad, and showed so much cinematic prowess from Sam Raimi. He can really push his scene. You missed all that and skipped some of the most important parts of the story, then spoke with authority on it afterwards. I mean, what are you thinking?
Which is fucked up, but whatever. Oh, she also says that she doesn't mind that he's Spider-Man and she'll do whatever it takes to be with him, and that she'll be there for him no matter what. Except in the next movie where she leaves him because he's Spider-Man. Anyway, this movie's dumb as hell. 7 out of 10, I love it.
7 out of 10, dumb as hell. The movie is a 9.8. Get the fuck out of here with that 9.8. Shh.
Okay, so everybody knows that this movie is bad. And I'm not about to talk shit about Spider-Man 2 and go ahead and say this one's good.
No, don't talk about Spider-Man 3 like it's objectively bad. Horseshit. When it had studio interference, and yet the movie still had a huge sense of quality, depth, and substance.
And I almost wasn't even going to talk about it because everybody already knows the funny things in it. But I can't help it. This movie's hilarious. However, while the movie is bad, it's actually pretty consistent in its tone. This still feels like a Spider-Man sequel. even if it is a really stupid one.
How's the pie?
So good.
Even if it's a really stupid Spider-Man sequel, shut up.
So this movie goes ahead and starts off with another...
It's me, Peter Parker.
God damn it. You think after 2 movies he'd probably get good at this, but no, he doesn't.
You think after 2 reviews you'd finally hop off Tobey Maguire for a sec, over the way he says his lines when he's supposed to sound like that. He is a nerd. How many times am I gonna have to keep explaining this shit to you? Jeez, Cosmonaut, you're driving me fucking bonkers.
Now, if you ask me, the best part about this movie is the fact that the wackiness starts at the very beginning. It's not a gradual build-up like it is in the last 2 movies. This movie starts off as a shit show.
No, the best part of the movie is the fact that they maintained the atmosphere and tone of the first 2 films and evolved the cinematic style and technique of the storytelling. What you bring up are the world's most pointless nitpicks.
At the 10-minute mark, we already see 2 antagonists. Harry starts juicing with the Goblin Serum, and a fucking meteorite lands in Central Park with the symbiote. This movie's trying to juggle all of this shit at once, and it really doesn't work.
Starts off as a shit show just because it shows the symbiote, Harry, Pete, and MJ. What? Prove it. Don't just make objective claims, prove what you're saying to be true. You better have some proof for this shit. Yeah, Harry is using the Goblin Serum because he learned that the person he hates the most, the person who he believes killed his father, is actually his best friend. It feels like the ultimate betrayal. He can't take it, so he takes the Goblin Serum and eventually wants to get back at Pete. Pete and MJ are in love, so you're going to see scenes like that. Plus, they use this as an opportunity to show off the symbiote. That's good storytelling because the scenes serve more than one purpose.
Also, the symbiote coming from outer space is fucking stupid. I know that's how it is in the comics, but there's a lot more context in the original story. With everything that we know about this universe so far, telling me that aliens exist is kind of a stretch.
This is a universe where supernatural, genetically mutated spider bites create superpowers, and super serums make you have super strength, and you're talking about the plausibility of aliens being too far? Use your brain, genius.
So after all that, Harry ambushes Peter and tries to fucking murder him in the street. We are not even 1/6 through the movie at this point. Now, all things considered, I actually like this fight. It's pretty exciting. We know Peter isn't gonna die because the movie just fucking started. But the main thing at risk here is the wedding ring. It adds an extra threat to the fight, and it's good for making the audience engaged. Now, right after this scene, we're thrown into the Sandman's origin story, because like I said, this movie has no fucking breaks. However, him turning into Sandman is actually one of the best sequences in the whole movie. The effects have aged pretty well, and with no dialogue and beautiful music, it's an excellent example of wordless storytelling.
The Sandman scene was one of the most beautiful and profound forms of filmmaking ever created, with some of the most heartbreaking yet powerful expressions of emotion ever put to the cinematic history. This was a combination of cinematic vision and technology.
It's kind of weird because if you look at this scene on its own, it's kind of beautiful.
But then you remember it's in the same movie as this scene, and you get kind of upset.
Shut up. The movie has quality, that's what matters, genius.
Anyway, Harry has amnesia now, which, as everybody knows, is probably the worst plot device in the history of storytelling. He seriously hit his head and forgot the entire last 2 movies. That is more than ridiculous. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
The worst plot device in the history of anything ever. How? Harry hit his head in real life. If you hit your head too hard, it could affect memory, even long-term memory. Memory issues and head injury. Are you in the medical field, dude? So what are you talking about? This gives Harry's character a chance to be the way he was in the first film, before he was consumed by revenge over his father's death, not realizing Peter didn't kill his father.
Oh, also, James Franco has gone from being a bad actor to being an insane one.
I got here as fast as I could.
I know that face.
Now, unsurprisingly, Mary Jane is still the worst character in this movie.
Spider-Man gets attacked all the time.
This isn't about you. This is about me.
Remember how in the last movie she's like, hey, I love you, I'll support your lifestyle. Yeah, well, the first time he has to go out and do Spider-Man stuff, she's like, ugh, I didn't know this Spider-Man shit was gonna be full-time.
So now you're mad at MJ for reacting to the fact that her boyfriend barely has any time for their relationship because he's Spider-Man? Real people, real problems, Cosmonaut. You can wrap your head around that, can't you? If you can, why are you mad at people reacting to these problems? Use your film brain, dude. Eddie Brock was a good character foil to Peter throughout the film. He has a sense of wit to him and a decent amount of characterization. He didn't even give the film credit for what it achieved, despite studio interference.
The next scene is also really funny because we are now randomly introduced to all the new side characters. This random ass motherfucker shows up and he's just like,
Oh my god, that's Gwen.
I'm sorry, who are you? This is the main villain, by the way, and he just shows up randomly. Now, all things considered, Topher Grace's performance is not actually that bad. I actually really like it.
See, photography, it's not just about, no offense, flagpoles, whatever. It's about lighting.
And it kind of upsets me that people blame him for why this movie sucks. He's actually perfectly playing the jerky, hot-headed foil to Peter Parker. He's just one of the better parts of the movie when he's not being Venom. Because when he gets the symbiote, he kind of sucks. Once he turns into Venom, he's just...
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
Fucking ridiculous. Honestly, if this movie was just about one villain, one fucking dude, it could have been fine. Harry's motivations are clearly defined all the way from the first movie, and he would have made a great villain on his own. Sandman has a very compelling story, and the way he ties back to Peter could be interesting if written well. Eddie Brock serves as a great foil to Peter, his narrative opposite. He represents something that we haven't seen in these movies yet. A person like Peter Parker, except motivated by his own selfishness instead of selflessness. Any one of these dudes would have been fine. Making a Spider-Man movie should be so fucking easy.
But most of them suck.
I'm so mad.
Oh my goodness, Cosmonaut. Enough with the nitpicks already. I get the idea, dude. You take your own opinion as gospel.
So anyway, Mary Jane gets kicked out of her play because she can't sing for shit, and she sees Peter swing by, and she actually gets mad at him. Yeah, forget being supportive of the Spider-Man lifestyle. Now you're actually actively jealous of your own boyfriend. And then she even has the audacity to get mad when he kisses a random girl that he doesn't know right in front of her. Peter, why did you do that? This movie's just basically Mary Jane and Peter Parker being pissy at each other again, because we haven't seen enough of that. Because we have the same general storyline in every single one of these movies. So now Spider-Man decides to be evil, and he wears his hair different, and he says bad words.
You'll get your rent when you fix this door!
And everybody likes this part of the movie. This is everyone's favorite part of the movie. Everybody universally agrees that this is where the movie really shines. Now, this movie has a flow, much like the others do. However, the flow in this movie is fucking insane. They just have each villain getting kicked out of the story to make room for another villain. Harry's the bad guy at the beginning of the movie until he gets amnesia. Then Sandman comes in, and he's the villain until Peter murders him. Then Harry decides not to have amnesia anymore, and he's the villain again. Then Peter Parker kills Harry Osborn with a bomb, and then Venom is the main villain after that. This movie is bananas. All while this is happening, we have bad acting.
It's over.
No. Please.
And just absolutely hilarious scenes.
Now take all this.
When Peter starts acting different because of the symbiote, that's what makes the scene so great and even iconic, is that Peter is a nerd underneath it all. So when he lashes out, it's going to be different, and that's what makes it so compelling. Remember when Joker in the new movie was on the stairs and lashed out, fully letting out himself? That's what Peter did in the movie, and that's what made it so compelling.
The last act of this movie rushes along faster than you can say.
Oh boy, yeah.
Eddie Brock gets the symbiote, and immediately afterwards, him and Sandman just find each other wandering the streets. Then they steal a taxi, kidnap Mary Jane, and build a death trap for Spider-Man. This all happens in the span of like a couple minutes. This movie is so sluggishly paced until the point where all this shit has to be shoved in immediately. Oh, and then Peter goes to Harry to recruit him to fight the bad guys, but Harry is now the Phantom of the Opera and he's sad and he hides in his castle. But then the butler comes out and says that Spider-Man didn't kill his dad, and that Spider-Man is innocent.
I loved your father as I have loved you, Harry.
I'm sorry, who are you? So the climax of this movie revolves around Peter saving Mary Jane. Does that sound familiar? Because it's been the climax in every single one of these movies. You see what I mean when I say these movies are all the same? I don't even care. It's so funny. 4 out of 10, really bad, but I like it anyway.
I don't feel so good.
4 out of 10, they're all the same. So Eddie Brock was a character foil for Peter. Mary Jane got upset that Peter's can't always be there. He's Spider-Man. Harry lost his memory due to head injury, so you get to see him when he's fully expressing himself, not thinking about revenge and his father's death. Sandman wants to help his daughter, so he robs and steals. Venom, Eddie Brock is a character foil to Peter and wants to get in with J. Jonah Jameson. When he can't, he blames Peter and wants him dead, and that's when Venom comes in. Basically, literally the basics of filmmaking 101 is all it would take for you to even have a modicum of understanding. 4 out of 10, kiss my ass. 8.8 out of 10, very good. Spider-Man 3 is underrated. See y'all. Thanks for watching.